On this week's episode of Sudden Rush Shop,
we changed the torque converter in the new top dragster. All right, here we've got our new FTI torque converter. And unboxing it, we've got our instructions. We've got some FTI Performance decals. We've got the bolt kit. Comes with the bolts we'll need. And we've got a nice sealed air protector piece in there. And then inside, we have the actual torque converter. So before we remove the transmission, we've got to drain the fluid and then remove a bunch of parts so that we can actually get it out. Then we're going to take off the right and the left headers just so we've got a little bit more room to work. We're going to remove the coil, remove the dial-in board so we can lift it straight up, remove the trans-cooler lines, then pull the trans-cooler out, remove the shifter cable, remove the throttle cable. In order to get the drive shaft out, we have to remove the rear tires, remove the blowback supports, then we can remove the U-bolts and slide the drive shaft out. In order to get to the torque converter bolts, we've got to remove the oil filter and then remove the transmission overflow tank. Finally, we're going to remove the torque converter bolts and use the bump button to spin it around. Then remove the transmission bolts. Then we're going to jack the transmission up while keeping it centered. And then we're going to put that torque converter bolt in place so that it doesn't come out. And then we're going to heave it out of there. Now that the transmission's out, we're going to check the flex plate for cracks and chipped teeth on the ring gear. And then we're going to add a quart of new transmission fluid to the torque converter. So now I'm going to take this guy here and I'm going to get it aligned so that it is going onto both of these splines and then into that keyway. Also, there it goes. So now it is in place. We want to double check our measurements. So we're going to take a straight edge and we're going to take some calipers here and we're going to measure, and we're sitting right at a little over an inch. Is right where we want to be. And this is going to hold the torque converter in place so it doesn't accidentally fall out while we were trying to put it in. And now the torque converter is on the transmission and it's ready to get installed. Then we're going to heave the transmission back into the dragster. We're going to uninstall the torque converter holder bolt, slowly lower the jack into position, and then using the guide pins, we're going to shove it up in there, and then finally bolt it into place. Next, using spacers and a feeler gauge, we're going to get the converter gap to between 125 to 185 thousandths, and then tighten up the torque converter bolts. And then we're going to reinstall the drive shaft, shifter cable, throttle cable, blowback support, trans-cooler, coil, dial board, and finally we fill the transmission with the appropriate amount of fluid. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Sudden Rush Shop.
Make sure to like and subscribe so you can watch our next videos.
Thanks, guys.